డోంట్ టేక్ ఇన్ నెగిటివ్. మీరు హీరో మెటీరియల్లా ఉండరు, బట్ మీ సక్సెస్ చూసినా ఫ్యాన్ ఫాలోయింగ్ చూసినా కూడా ఒక 2 మూవీస్కి అట్లా ఫ్యాన్ ఫాలోయింగ్ అనేది చాలా రేర్ కేసెస్లో జరుగుతుంది. సో దాని వెనక్కి ఉన్నది హార్డ్ వర్కా లక్క?
అండి మీరు ఓకే, సారీ Pradeep, I'm taking the mic because I've been in this industry, I've done 170 films. You cannot say A to Z who's the hero material. And everybody over is a hero material.
I think people see themselves in me. So when they see the screens, they feel they are the hero. They are acting in it and they are doing the romance. They are fighting. So when they see themselves in me, I'm already a hero. That's it.
There is something that really irks people in any industry. This is especially true for a person who is an insider or even an observer from the outside, and that is the existence of disruptors. Individuals that come with absolutely no backing and create a name for themselves some way or the other in the industry. Pradeep Ranganathan is one such disruptor who has ruffled so many feathers, not only because he is successful, but because he is the antithesis of everything that people associate with stars in various film industries. He hails from no film family, he does not fit the conventional standards of beauty one associates with commercial cinema. He went from making short films to transitioning into feature films and has genuinely cultivated a huge fan base with especially a young demographic that are regular patrons to his movies ever since his debut in 2019. The treatment of Pradeep while he was doing his press run is often associated with demeaning questions like the one I presented in the introduction. A legend like Sarath Kumar coming in defense of the hero was heartfelt, but Pradeep has communicated on how he has been desensitized to such acts because he has been hearing this all his life. I couldn't help but empathize with him, and I know I should not make this about Hindi cinema, but I remember very vividly speaking about this regarding Kartik Aaryan and how he was treated when he tasted mainstream commercial success after Sonu Ki Titu Ki Sweetie. I remember him having to defend himself when being called out for doing sexist, misogynistic cinema by journalists and nothing more, and how he had to categorically and objectively mention the various films he has done that have gone unnoticed. While criticism is always warranted for the works that the actors do, I often feel there is this animosity and almost anger that generates from within the industry when an outsider creates waves. When I see Molly from regular sketches transitioning to what he has done with a Telugu movie like Little Hearts, or what Bhuvan Bam is attempting to do with his mainstream career, I find myself rooting for such individuals, no matter what anyone will tell me otherwise. With Dude, I stepped in for that one show available in the Delhi NCR region near me, and I can't help but have this unpopular opinion of actually really liking this film. Many people are trolling it to be a representation of this cuck leading hero. Many people are frustrated because they are not used to a leading hero making such progressive decisions. But I can't help but believe that I commend it for the ideas it strived towards. Not to, of course, deny its demerits, but let's dive deep on the 2 movies I saw this week. Starting with Dude. The movie is directed by debutant Kirti Swaran and is a 2 hours and 16 minutes movie that focuses on Agan, played by Pradeep Ranganathan, who is dealing with a breakup, frustrated on the fact that he does not know the reason why he has broken up with. A constant support in his life includes Kural, played by Mamitha Baiju, who is his maternal cousin. I posted this day before yesterday, but I must tell you that it is quite uncomfortable for me personally to see characters even marginally romantically related who are essentially cousins. But I do understand that this is a ritual that has been going on since eons in Tamil Nadu and the Telugu speaking states as well. I hear this is true for parts of Karnataka, Maharashtra and Kerala too, but owing to education and the complications that come with genetic issues of offsprings, it is slowly declining. I remember watching Kadai Kutti Singam with Karthi and being absolutely disgusted with the way his nieces were hitting on him so that they can get married to him. I do realize that this is a trope often used in commercial Tamil and Telugu cinema, especially when it's set in rural areas, but I hope it slowly fades away too. If I may have misrepresented this, or one wants to give me more insight on the same topic, I would urge you to please comment down below on whatever you can share with the same themes. Not to digress further, the complications that arise in the lives of Agan and Kurul, specifically due to the presence of Sarath Kumar playing the role of Kurul's father, forms the basic premise of Dude. I'll keep it as vague because the trailer did a great job in keeping the major plot points at bay. I first have to tell you that why the film is effective for me. It is so because it is genuinely young in its core and themes. You see us on the channel constantly talk about how Bollywood movies are not cool anymore, how the aesthetic and language in which characters speak to each other does scream boomer energy, and it seems like older adults wanting to gel with a younger demographic without really understanding them. And here we have a movie aesthetic that is urban, contemporary and lively. This especially gets enhanced by the rich cinematography by Niket Bomi, saturated and colourful and lively, having this warm texture that through its mad wedding introduction sequence immediately reminded me of the aesthetic and editing pattern of Talumala and how chaos can be captured. For an older audience, the editing pattern may give you whiplash because the film oscillates like the Tasmanian devil with its emotions. You'll have one long shot immediately transitioning to slow motion slaps to a momentary pause to understand one's core conflict, and right after that follow that with Rajnikant-ism sprinkled for style. The editing pattern has a short attention span one equates to a younger audience, but it isn't pretentious about it. It doesn't have what we equate with Shankar employing the same for his screenplay in Game Changer, assuming the audience can only deal with a particular editing pattern. Kirteswaran seems to employ what he knows, and that's why it's effective. He wouldn't know any other way to make this movie. The music of this film has been composed by Sai Abhyankar, and he is the talk of the town currently, and while many people are slightly irked by the professional opportunities being given to this young individual, he channelizes this youthful energy to the film that translates extremely well, especially standing out for me with the tender emotional moments where the score kicks in. I have two major gripes with the film that I do want to reference. Whenever the movie does take itself seriously, anchors the over-the-top antics to some emotional core, this is where Pradeep somewhat struggles in the emotional scenes. There is this specific moment where he locks himself in the bathroom and contemplates about his predicament and weeps profusely, but struggles in doing it with absolute conviction. However, when you see his co-star in the form of Mamitha, it's almost so easy for her, you're blown away by it. There is a moment where she asks Pradeep, confirming twice whether he is pulling a prank on her, trying to put on a brave face yet breaking down. And it's where you realize that the moments anchored in seriousness and drama is where Pradeep struggles, but when he shines is when sequences are masked with stylized isms that essentially become an ode to vintage commercial cinema and its biggest stars. The film till its interval, even with its multiple twists, has the ability to hook you in. It has the ability to make you really invested in Agan and Kurul's journey. However, the film does lose steam, especially in the last 30 minutes, where it seems like footage of the movie has been viciously chopped down so that it can reach an economical 2 hours and 16 minutes running time. Because there are conclusions to the story of Sarath Kumar and especially the resolution in Agan's life that seems rushed and do not have a connective tissue to how the film was developing. There are social themes and moments which make you uncomfortable, but I couldn't help but root for Agan's future despite his uncouth mannerisms. He is a rowdy, spoiled brat who is extremely annoying about cribbing till he gets what he wants. However, in his core, he seeks for the happiness of Kurul, and his decisions throughout the movie, this is consistent, are dictated by that, making me really morally root for him as a leading man, and this is contrary to how I felt about his characters in Dragon and even Love Today. I was invested in the journey of Agan because I liked what he stood for, and this somewhat papers over the cracks of the screenplay problems of the movie because you generally root for the man versus in other movies where I somewhat felt he was a misogynistic rowdy even with his partners. I really liked Sarath Kumar in this movie and the way the film pulls itself to focus on genuinely serious themes plaguing our society. And there are many relevant themes the film explores, which will essentially be spoilers, but I do not think it trivialized these problems. Actually gave it some gravitas, sprinkled it with some commercial themes, and made it a genuinely enjoyable watch for me. Again, I must warn you, the movie in its last 30 minutes almost loses the grasp it had on your attention, but the journey and what Pradeep and Mamitha have pulled off with the debut director like Kirteswaran and the waves it is making in theatres really makes me feel it's fully deserved and warranted. I hope Pradeep does not, however, get into a rut of the same characters because what is novel right now can become exhausting if done to death, something that happened with the dream run that Ayushmann Khurrana was experiencing prior to the pandemic, still making me want to root for him as dude was genuinely fun to watch. However, if there is one movie that I would urge you to watch if it is available in a theatre near you, it has to be Bison, directed by Selvaraj, who I believe is just incapable of making a bad movie. This, in my opinion, may just go down as one of my favorite movies of the year. Starring Dhruv Vikram as Kitta, a character who is based on Arjuna Award winner and Kabaddi player Manti Ganesan. The movie is 2 hours and 48 minutes long and does a back and forth between the Kabaddi match being played at an international stage and the origin story of Kitta and how he made this perilous and impossible dream a reality. The film, through many discourses, is getting criticized for it is an extension of what Tamil cinema consistently focuses on, and that is caste-based oppression and discrimination. Many people experience in this country, and I can't help but scoff at such criticisms because not only is it based on realities many experience, but the criticism has no artistic relevance. It's just an annoyance of seeing what India is dealing with. It's problems that one should address versus being bored about. Clearly a privileged lens of viewing cinema that should be an artistic mirror to our society versus distracting us through mindless commercial cinema where the privileged upper caste hero saves the day, which we will get fed anyway every week or so. Dhruv Vikram is an actor who I absolutely loved in a movie like Mahan where he starred opposite his father Vikram. And even though his rendition of Arjun Reddy titled Aditya Varma was a tough watch for how terribly it was produced and made, he really invests everything for the role of Kitta, both physically and emotionally, being distant and monosyllabic for the most part, wanting to remove himself from the shackles of jealousy, caste oppression and consistent violence that has plagued his village, and even aesthetically, having the build of a kabaddi player. What I love is that, of course, this is the son of the soil, so the diets of the athletes are far from what one would assume to be ideal for sportsmen. But because of the rigorous activities they deal with and the farmland they work on, they have a grit and power that is so unique that one can still see the fat in them, but it is coupled with such brute strength of the years of working and toiling on the field that it just cannot be replicated. The film has a consistent theme of running and what Kitta associates the act with. The act is usually compared to physical activity to training oneself for the sport, but it is associated with greater opportunity in this film. It is associated with escaping one's reality, and Kitta finding solace in this act is deeply poetic. It's the dichotomy between running away from one's dark reality to chasing one's dream, and oftentimes people can't run away from that barrier, and the story of Kitta is one of those rare instances where one passes the boundary walls of oppression, petty fights and problems. There is this lingering fear, especially showcased by brilliant Pasupathy who plays Kitta's father, to not embroil his son in any minor inconvenience also, for it manifests into such violence that one hopes they don't die in the process. One often speaks about this when referencing being surrounded by mediocrity and how it irks people when one strives towards higher ground, and how the only way one can live a peaceful life is if one runs away from being constantly subjected to it. The film, in my eyes, may just be one of the best sports biopics made in the last few years, for it brilliantly showcases the realities Kitta dealt with while also focusing with great detail about the specific conflicts that arose in his village and giving full justice to the sport itself and the technique associated with it. The kabaddi sequences genuinely being engaging to watch. There are two gripes, however, that I had with the film. One was the Hindi dialogues. Anurag Arora playing the Indian team coach is found in the same done to death trope of the coach who puts his team in jeopardy due to his ego, and some of his scenes are very run-of-the-mill and generic, especially because you have seen it in so many biopics. The second issue I had with the film is the random cutaways the filmmaker does when Dhruv is delivering his dialogues. It's distracting as it often transitions to reaction shots immediately, almost to mass dialogues being delivered in multiple cuts. Let me know if you notice the same too. The film is absolutely beautiful visually. Idil Arusuke really presenting some of the most cinematic shots, especially when the warring groups battle it out with one another. Kitta finding himself in these crossroads, cowering in a corner, almost wanting for all of it to end, like he's having a bad dream. Frames as Dhruv Vikram and Anupama stand in a field in calm isolation, almost like a fairy tale, wildly disassociated from their reality, is one of the most beautiful frames I have seen in film this year. Pasupathy in this film for me was a clear standout. I've come to the conclusion that his presence just makes every movie way better. The way he wants the best for his son and how it is always coupled with fear of what may happen is the reality many people deal with in this unfair world. This scene of him desperately wanting his son to promise to him that he will never play for the problems it is causing around him was one of the most heartbreaking scenes of the film. Both Anupama Parmeswaran as Kitta's love interest and Rajasha Vijayan as his sister provide great conviction to the story, not being mere additions to random subplots but having depth and substance, somewhat missing in biopics usually, where everything is catered towards the leading man. The scene of Kitta processing being selected or his father pleading to the cops to let him leave so that he can participate for the tournament is something that truly made me emotional. For one understands that this is the collective emotion behind individuals who had everything snatched away from them, and now when it is so close, they are either in disbelief or pleading for it not to be taken away. Both sequences beautifully acted by Dhruv, Vikram and Pasupathy, really making this film one of the best theatrical experiences for me personally this year. Something I would highly recommend to all of you. And that was a video, guys. Write down in the comments below what are your honest thoughts about both Dude and Bison. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.